I hope you are able to see the screen here.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The next topic is converting relay schematics into PLC ladder programs. It is how to convert the given relay diagram into PLC ladder diagram. PLC ladder diagram. Okay. Now, if you want to convert the relay diagram into PLC ladder diagram, then we have to know the all the details about the relay diagram. That is, which are the inputs, which are the outputs, right? What is the process flow? Which all are the different components in the first rung? Which all are the different components in the second rung? Okay. What is the operation of the relay? Which are the what is the operation of each components of the relay? Right. We have to know the specifications and the description of the entire relay circuit. Only then we will be able to convert it into PLC ladder rung diagram. The best approach to developing a PLC program from a relay schematic is to understand the operation of each relay ladder rung. Every rung of the relay ladder diagram should be understood. Only then we will be able to convert into PLC ladder rung diagram. As each relay ladder rung is understood, an equivalent PLC rung can be generated. This process will require access to the relay schematic. We have to know the relay schematic. We have to know the documentation, which are the inputs, which are the output devices, what is the operation of each input and output devices, and what is the process flow. What is the process flow of the relay ladder diagram? Okay, only then it will be easy for us to convert from relay diagram to ladder rung diagram. This process will require access to the relay schematic, documentation of the various input and output devices used, and possibly a process flow diagram for the operation or of the operation. Most control processes require the completion of several operations to produce the required output. Now, usually to complete an output or to get an output, each and every operation must be completed. Correct? Only then it is possible to get the output. Now, if at all different processes are to be completed to get the output, then which are these processes? The processes may be manufacturing process, right? After manufacturing process, it may be required to assemble the goods. Then it may be required to finish the products, right? Finishing of the products. Then it may be required to machining. Machining may be required for on some of the products. Then it has to be packaged. The products have to be packaged. The materials have to be packaged, and then they have to be transported, okay, to the required industry or to the required customer. Okay, so these are all the processes that the any product will go through. First the manufacturing, then comes the next finishing, machining, assembling, packaging, and then transporting. Is it not? Now it requires a coordination between all these tasks. Only then it is possible to not only to obtain the product, but to obtain the finished product and then to transport these products to the required customers. Manufacturing, machining, assembling, packaging, finishing, or transporting of products requires precise coordination of the task. A sequential control process. There are different types of processes here. One is called as a sequential process control. Another one is called as automatic process control. And the third one is called as the combinational control. Let us look into what are these sequential control, combinational control, and the that is automatic process control. Now, when we use the word sequential control of the processes means systematically or sequentially controlling the different processes which are involved in the manufacturing of the product, controlling sequentially one after the another. Okay, that is sequential control. Okay, that is the meaning of the sequential control process is required for processes that demand that certain operations to be performed in a specific order. They are required to be performed in a specific order, only then we'll get the required output. The next figure illustrates parts of a bottle filling process. The bottle filling process is illustrated in the next diagram. As we can see in this figure, these are the bottles that are moving on the conveyor belt. Okay, then as it comes to the required position of the solenoid valve 1, there is labeling. It does the labeling on the bottle. Okay, that is the first label. It is called as label 1. Then as it moves a little bit ahead, there is labeling again by the solenoid 2. The solenoid 2 applies the label on the bottle, the same bottle. It applies the label on the same bottle. Okay, and then once it gets labeled with the solenoid valve 1 and solenoid valve 2, it moves ahead. The bottle moves ahead. Okay, on the conveyor belt. That is, this is called as a combination control. Combination control means it is a combination of the controlling process, and it indicates that irrespective of whether the label 1 is applied first or label 2 is applied first, that doesn't matter. This is the controlling process that is taking place here. It doesn't matter whether label 1 is applied first or label 2 is applied first. Okay, if both the labels are applied, only then our purpose will be served. What is our purpose? Our purpose, the user purpose, is to apply labels to two labels. One is label 1 and label 2 to the bottle. Okay, if the bottle is applied with the label 1 and label 2, then only the purpose will be served. Correct? Irrespective of whether label 1 is applied first or label 2 is applied first, that doesn't matter. Which is applied first and which is applied second. So such type of controlling process is called as the combination control. The filling and capping operations, the tasks are fill bottle and press on cap. Okay, if you consider a sequential process, in the sequential process there are two tasks. One is to fill the bottle with the liquid, okay, and then cap it. Okay, fill the bottle with the liquid and then applying the cap, press on the cap. These are the two tasks in the sequential process. These tasks must be performed in the proper order. These tasks must be performed in a sequence, in a particular order. Obviously, we could not fill the bottle after the cap is pressed on. Look here. In the sequential process, what is happening? Just now I explained with the figure, that is combinational control. The sequential process control, what happens? There are two tasks here. One is filling the bottle with the liquid. Another one is applying the cap. These are the two tasks. Now, instead of filling the bottle first, if the cap is applied, then what will happen? There are bottles moving on the conveyor belt. Instead of the bottle getting filled with the liquid first and then cap applied next, if the cap is applied first, then what will happen? Is it possible to fill it with the liquid? It is not possible, is it not? Therefore, this is called as a sequential process. In the sequential process, whichever task is to be performed first, that has to be performed first. Whichever task is to be performed next, that has to be performed next. Third task third. It has to be in sequence. If you break the sequence, then what will happen? It is not serving the purpose. It will not satisfy the user's requirements. Clear here? These tasks must be performed in the proper order. Obviously, we could not fill the bottle after the cap is pressed on. If the cap is applied first or pressed, then it is not possible to fill the bottle. This process therefore requires sequential controlling. Then in the combinational controls, what happens? Requires that certain operations be performed without regard to the order in which they are performed. The order is not important in combinational controls. In sequential, order is important. In combinational controls, order is not important, but it should finally satisfy the user's requirements in combination control, or it should serve the final purpose. Figure 7 illustrates another part of the same bottle filling process. Here there are two tasks: place label 1 on bottle and place label 2 on the bottle. On the same bottle, label 1 is applied, and on the same bottle, label 2 is applied. These are the two tasks in the combination controlling of the process. Order in which the tasks are performed does not really matter. The order is not important in case of the combination controls. In fact, however, many industrial processes that are not inherently sequential in nature, sometimes what happens, some of the industrial processes, okay, they are not inherently, they are not by default sequential in nature, but they make use of the sequential process for the efficient operation of the controller. Okay, if it has to be operated efficiently and efficiency has to be increased, the product quality and other factors have to be enhanced. Okay, then for efficient operation, they are making use of the sequential controlling, so that the order is important maintained and there is no fault occurring. They take care that no fault occurs at any point of time, because it is every point they are checking the sequence. They are every point monitoring the sequence. Okay, that is why the efficiency of the product manufactured will be increased if they go for the sequential controlling. Next process is automatic control process. You may be aware of the automatic control process. Let us consider a furnace. Okay, a furnace here. So this is the furnace which is shown, which is as good as a oven. We use microwave ovens in our houses, is it not? It is as good as a microwave oven, which is applying the heat energy. Okay, the heat air is passed through, or it may be because of the steam medium or heat water circulated. Okay, that the product is getting heated inside the furnace. Okay, so this is called as the furnace. In the furnace, we are measuring the temperature of the medium which is inside the furnace, or the component which is there inside the furnace. We are measuring the temperature of the material inside the furnace. Once we measure the temperature of the material inside the furnace, we apply it to the PLC. This is our PLC, or the controller. Correct? It displays the value. How much is the temperature of the furnace? That is displayed on the display. Once we know the value of the temperature, then suppose say if the temperature value is not to the required extent, that means if the temperature inside the furnace has not reached the desired value, if it has not reached the desired value, then what we have to do? We have to increase the temperature of the furnace so that the temperature of the furnace reaches the desired value. This desired value is called as a set point value. Set point value. Okay, that means if the, just a minute. If the temperature of the furnace is less than the desired temperature, then the temperature has to be increased. Yes, if the temperature of the furnace is less, if the temperature of the furnace is less than the set point value, okay, then it has to, if it is more than the set point value, then it has to be decreased. Correct? If the temperature of the furnace, the temperature of the furnace is, the temperature of the furnace is less than the desired value, then we have to increase the temperature. If the temperature of the furnace is more than the desired temperature, if it is more than the set point value, then we have to decrease the temperature. Then we have to decrease the temperature. Okay, like this, we are monitoring the temperature of the furnace. How we are monitoring the temperature of the furnace? It is because of the loop here. Again, feedback loop is used. That is, whatever is the temperature measured, that is measured by the PLC controller, and again based on that temperature with respect to the set point value, based on that there is a feedback system here which may apply more temperature or it may reduce the temperature of the furnace. If the temperature has to be increased, then it will apply more temperature, this one feedback system. Okay, if the temperature required is to be reduced, then it will apply less temperature. It will cool the system. Cool the system. It is just like as good as your air conditioners cooling system. What it will do, it will circulate the air, right? If the temperature required is more, okay, it is trying to reduce the AC content. Okay, if the temperature required is less, if more cooling is required, then it will reduce the temperature. Correct. It is as good as the air cooler system. Here we are using
So
the furnace.
temperature sensor, no?
Which
Temperature
one? This
sensor
one?
is required, no?
Yes, of course. Temperature sensor is required. Correct. Temperature sensor must is here must required, because to sense the temperature here, we have to know the temperature. Temperature sensor senses the temperature or measures the temperature and feeds it to the PLC. What this PLC will do? It will check the difference between the set point value and the measured value. If the difference is less, okay, then accuracy is more. And what it will try to do, it will try to reduce the difference between the set point value and the measured value. That is that main purpose or the main say function of this feedback system. Okay, then if the difference between or the error between the set point value and the measured value is more, it will try to reduce. If it is less, it may still reduce so that accuracy is increased. Correct.
So act like a
This is,
counter.
it is just like a,
It's like a counter, sir. It counts.
no, 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 counter is different. Counter is
Yes,
different.
sir.
Counter will just count. The
Okay, sir.
function of the counter is to count. Counter means what it will do, it will count in the up direction. I will give the example of the timer, the clock. What it will do, it is counting, is as good as a counting. It will go on ticking. Say the time is now 9:30. Okay, and then 10:30, 11:30, 12 o'clock. Okay, 1, 5, like that. It will go on counting in the up direction. Down counter, I give the example of the sports games that are played, sportive games, right? Just for example, placing the ball from one container to another container. You want to measure the time within 30 seconds, how many balls you have placed from one container to another container. The gaming games that are being played. That is a down counter that they are employing there, that they are using there. Down counter. Okay. So this is how the difference is between the counter. That is, this is not a counter here. This is controller. Furnace controller means what? It is controlling. Is controlling the temperature of the furnace. Temperature of the furnace. If it is less and if more temperature is required, it will increase the temperature. If it is more, temperature of the furnace is more, and if the temperature of the required value is less, it will reduce the temperature. So like this it will operate. I hope it is clear now, Inoj.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Automatic control involves maintaining a desired set point at an output. One example is maintaining a certain set point temperature in a furnace as shown in the figure. If there is deviation from that set point, an error is determined. How error is determined? By comparing the output with the set point and using this error to make the correction. Using this error to make the correction. This requires feedback from the output to the control for the input. It requires feedback from the output. Whatever temperature is being measured, based on that, it is either increasing the temperature or the temperature is decreased, so that the measured value reaches nearing to the set point value or nearing to the required value, desired value. Okay. Next, we'll look into more details of the sequential process flow. The converting of a simple sequential process is examined with reference to the process flow diagram. There is a flow diagram which is given here. This is called as the sequential process flow diagram. Here, what is happening is, first the start button is switched on. Start button, that is green LED will glow. Okay. So when green LED glows and when the motor is started, okay, then the package will start to move on the conveyor belt. Package will start to move on the conveyor belt. Okay. As the package comes nearing to the limit switch, it will stop. That means that is the end of that package. Okay. Then the user or the service person and the layman, what he will do, he'll pick the package, or the package may be diverted to some other route. The package may be diverted to some other route. Here it is the limit switch, which is controlling the end of the package movement. Okay. So once the package nears this limit switch, okay, the current will be sensed by the limit switch based on the limit in the current. If it is within the limit or not within the limit, then what it will do, it will stop the package. It will not allow the package to move ahead, to move further. Okay. Then the once the package stops, red LED will glow. If the process is in running operation, is in running state, then the green LED will glow. Okay. If it is running state, that is package is moving, then the green LED or the green indicator will be glowing. If the package comes nearer to the limit switch and it stops, then the red pilot light will be glowing or it will turn on. The sequential task is as follows. Start button is pressed, table motor is started or the motor is started, package moves to the position of the limit switch and automatically stops. Package, it moves to the position of the limit switch and stops automatically. Some other features here. Other features are, now here if the stop button is pressed, okay, the package is moving. Suppose in between if the stop button is pressed, then this package will stop wherever it is. Package will stop wherever it is. This is called as an auxiliary feature of the sequential process. A stop button that will stop the table for any reason before the package reaches the limit switch position. Then a red pilot light to indicate the table is stopped, and a green pilot light to indicate that the table is running or the motor is running. Okay. Red pilot light indicates table is in stopped position or it is in halt position, and a green pilot light indicates that the table is in running position or the conveyor belt or the motor is in the running position. Next is relay schematic for the sequential process. Just now we saw the sequential process flow diagram. For this we have to draw the relay diagram now. Relay diagram for this sequential process. Let us look into that. A relay schematic for the sequential process is shown in the next figure. Operation of this circuit is as follows. They have given the relay schematic for the sequential process. This is how it looks like. Now in this relay schematic, this is a relay schematic for the sequential process that we analyze now. Here, if the push button 1 is pressed, say that push button PB1 is pressed, it is normally open position, it will become closed. These are normally closed itself, okay, so they will remain in a closed position unless they are actuated. Unless the PB2 stop button and LS limit switch are activated or energized, they will remain in their original position or in their previous position. So when push button 1 is pressed to close, these are also closed and the control relay is activated. The control relay will be activated. Okay, this control relay is controlling the turning on and turning off of the motor here. The control relay is controlling the turning on and turning off of the motor. Okay, so control relay is activated. Let us see the steps, how it works. Control relay is activated when PB1 start button is pressed. PB2 stop position, it is all in its previous position. LS limit switch is also in the previous position. So they are true. This is true. PB2 is also true. LS limit switch is also true. Hence the control relay or the trunk will be activated or the trunk becomes true. Next, CR1. This CR1 is the internal contact or it is a seal-in contact. So what this will do, it will maintain the flow of current or it will maintain the flow of current even if the PB1 start button is released. Suppose if the P1 start button is released, it will maintain the current in the circuit, in this path, in this entire circuit. Okay, that is maintained by this CR1 contact, internal contact, relay contact. Okay, then this is CR2. This is which contact? Normally open or normally closed? Can anybody tell me? Is it a normally open? Normally closed. Very good. It is normally closed contact. Exactly. So as it is normally closed here, for normally closed, what is happened here? The red LED is in on position. Is in on position now for normally closed. Yes, that is why it is shown as glowing here. Okay. Now when the current passes here, it will go from normally closed to normally open. That is, it goes from closed position to open condition. When it goes from closed to open condition, what should happen to this red LED? Whether it will be on state or off state. See now, initially it is CR2 is closed position. For the closed position, the red LED is glowing. It is glowing. Okay. Now when the current flows here and it becomes open, the CR2 becomes open from closed position. It becomes open position. It is closed initially. After the current is passed, it gets actuated or energized. It will become open. Once it becomes open, what happens to the, that is the indicator, the red indicator, whether it goes off or on?
Off, sir.
Off, exactly. It goes from on to off state. Similarly, come to the third rank, CR3. It is normally open. For normally open, the green LED is in off state now. Green LED is in off state. It is not shown glowing. as that of red LED. Now, when the current flows or CR3, this relay contact is energized. Okay, it is energized. It is normally open. It will become closed. Normally open initially, it becomes closed. So once it becomes closed, the current flows and it will go from off state to on state. Initially, it is off when CR3 is normally open. When the current flows, the CR3 contact, that is relay contact, gets energized, it becomes closed. As it becomes closed, the current flows and the green LED will be glowing. It will go from off state to on state. What is the indication of the green LED? It indicates that the conveyor belt is moving or the motor is started. Okay. Then CR4. CR4, again, it is normally open state. When it gets actuated or energized, it will go from open state to closed state and it will energize the motor starter coil. It will energize the motor starter coil, and then because the motor starter coil is energized, the motor will start, the belt will start to move, the conveyor belt, and because of which the package is moving towards the limit switch. Package starts moving towards the limit switch. This diagram, whatever we discussed just now. Okay. Once the motor starts here, because the last rung, right, the package will start to move on the conveyor belt and it will move towards this limit switch. Fine. These are the steps to turn on the motor coil and to move the package. Now, suppose say we come in the reverse order, that is the opposite conditions. So this OL is the overload relay contact. It is meant to control the motor current, or if there is any excess current in the motor, that is controlled by this overload relay contact. OL stands for overload relay contact. It controls the excess current in the motor. If there is any excess current, overload current, okay, more than the normal current or in the motor, that is controlled by this overload relay contact, OL, overload. Okay. Now what is going to happen is push button will be released next. Okay, push button will be released. So when push button is released, right, then this stop button will be going from off state to on state. That is normally closed, it will become open. Correct. Limit switch we are pressing, it will go, it will get actuated and it will get released. When we are pressing the stop button and when we are actuating the limit switch, when we are releasing the PB1 start button, what is going to happen? PB1 will be released. PB2 it is normally closed, it will become open. Limit switch it is normally closed, it will become open. Then whether current will flow to the control relay? Yes, students, whether current will flow to the control relay?
No,
All
sir.
are becoming open. No, current cannot flow to the control relay because PB2 stop button is getting open. Limit switch, when we are pressing it, when we are actuating that, that is also open. So current cannot flow to the control relay. Now control relay coil is de-energized. Relay coil is de-energized. Yes. Then CR1 contact, this is not initially it went to close position, now it will go to close to open. Because of open position, whatever data was sealed here, the conduction current, whatever was maintained because of the previous state, okay, that will be eliminated. Okay, the sealing current will stop. Okay, it is not going to maintain now. For the initial, when the push button was pressed, it was maintaining the current in the relay path in the relay through the relay coil. But once this goes from closed state to open state, from it has initially gone from open to closed. Now second time, when we are releasing the push button and when we are actuating limit switch and push button to stop switch, it is going from closed to open state. Because of this, what is happening? It cannot maintain the current in the path. It is de-energizing the control relay. Then CR2. CR2, it is normally closed. This is normally closed. It has gone to close to open to turn off this red LED previously. Now again it is reverse operation. It will go from open state to closed state. Again the red LED will glow, indicating that we are stopping the motor. We are stopping the relay coil. We are de-energizing the relay coil. Similarly, CR3. It was originally normally open. It went from open to closed state to turn on this green LED during the motor starting operation or when the motor was in the running state. Now this time what will happen? It will go from closed state to open state. go from closed state to open state. Then again there will be no current flowing here, and the green LED will go from on state to off state. Red LED will go from off state to on state, indicating the motor is about to stop, and green LED will go from on state to off state, again indicating that the motor is going to stop now. Then the CR4 relay contact, again this also will go from it was going from open to close, now it will go from close to open, indicating that there will be no current through the motor starter coil, and the starter coil will be de-energized, and hence the motor will stop. Motor will stop once the motor starter coil is de-energized. Okay, so this is how this relay schematic for the sequential process will work. So this question may be asked in examination, students, to explain the sequential control process using the relay schematic and the ladder rung diagram. Okay, explain the sequential process control using the relay schematic and the ladder rung diagram. First you all have to draw this figure, explain what is sequential process first, and then explain the schematic, this one relay schematic, starting from how it is started, which rung is activated first, which second, which is third, which is fourth. Okay, and when will the motor starter coil will be energized, then reverse operation. Okay, when you are pressing the stop button, what will happen? Okay, the reverse operation, that is motor coil getting de-energized and finally stopping of the motor. Any difficulty up till here, students? Any difficulty up till here?
No difficulty.
Following, right? Okay, right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the IO connection diagram is very simple. Here they have indicated some addresses. They have given some addresses for the input devices and the output devices. They are the addresses where the input device and the output device are stored in the memory locations of the PLC. For example, I:3/0, it indicates that slot 3 and bit 0. For this PB1 start switch, it is stored in slot 3 and bit 0 position in the input image table file. Then PB1 stop button is stored in the slot 3 and bit 1 of the input image table file, like that for the others. Similarly, if we consider for the output, suppose say O:4/2, that means it is slot 4 bit 2 in the output image table file. Okay, so this is PB1 start switch, PB1 stop switch, limit switch, whatever we used in the previous process flow sequential diagram. Then this is for the motor starter coil, this is for the stop coil, pilot light, red LED for stopping the motor indication, then PL2 green light, which indicates the running state of the motor. Okay, so this is how the IO connection diagram is for the sequential process flows diagram. So we have seen here the operation as to how it works. This is just quickly highlight here. Contact CR1 closes, sealing in CR when the start button is released. CR2 opens, switching the red pilot from on to off state. CR3 closes, switching the green pilot light from off to on. This is turning on first. Okay, turning on operation. Then next comes the reverse operation, turning off operation. Okay, after CR4 is energized, then the off operation, limit switch is activated, de-energizing the relay coil CR. Then contact CR1 opens, opening the seal-in circuit. Contact CR2 closes, switching the red pilot light from off to on, that is off state, that is motor turning off. Contact CR3 opens, switching the green pilot light from on to off. Contact CR4 opens, de-energizing the motor starter coil to stop the motor and end the sequence. In this IO connection diagram for a programmed version of the sequential process, each input and output devices is represented by a symbol and its related address. These addresses will indicate which PLC input is connected to which input device and which PLC output is connected to which output device. The addressing will differ from one PLC to another PLC. Whatever addresses they have used here, I:3/0, or for the output they have used O:4/2, like that. This will differ from one PLC manufacturer to another PLC manufacturer. Whatever this IO connection diagram they have given here, this is for SLC 500 PLC, for SLC 500 PLC controller. The hardwired relay schematic for the sequential process is converted to PLC ladder logic program as shown in the next figure. This you all can see here. The same whatever we studied now, the relay diagram, it is converted into ladder rung diagram. Okay, you can see the PB1 push button switch. This is our PB1, PB2 normally closed push button switch, and this is the limit switch. Okay, these are the input connections, input model wiring connections. These have their own addresses, I:3/0, or it may be I:3/2, like that. Then they come to the ladder logic program. Now when push button PB1 is actuated, what is happening here? This is examine if closed. Okay, examine if closed instruction, examine if closed instruction. So when it is closed, okay, what will happen? These two are normally closed position and the relay coil will be energized. And this is also normally closed. So what it is doing, it will seal in the whatever was the original current, it will try to maintain the current. It is seal in circuit. Function of the seal in circuit is even after the switch is open or closed, it will maintain the previous current. Okay, that is the function of the seal in circuit. Then B3:1/0, B3:1/0. This contact is which contact? This is examine if closed, correct? This is examine if open contact. Examine if open contact. So it will go from open to closed contact, and because it goes from open to closed contact, then this red LED will be going from on state to off state, or this contact output contact will go from on state to off state. That is for the red LED, O:4/2, as you all can see here. Then when this contact will go from, this is examine if closed. Okay, go from closed state to open state. Then this O:4/3, this is for the green light. Okay, this will go from off state to on state. This is the first operation, turning on of the motor. Then B3:1/0. This is what happening here. This examine if closed, it will go from closed state to open state. When it goes from closed state to open state, okay, what is happening? The motor coil is energized. Correct? Motor coil is energized. Because of this, the motor will be turned on, and then the conveyor belt will start to move. It will start to rotate, and then because of which the package will be moving from the source towards the destination. It is from source to the limit switch, towards the limit switch. Then the reverse operation. If the stop button is pressed, PB2 is the stop button. If when this is pressed and limit switch is pressed, what happens? They are normally in closed position. They will become open. As I explained for the relay diagram, they will become open. The current cannot flow to the relay coil, and the relay coil will become de-energized. Okay, here relay coil is controlling the on and off of the motor. Then the seal-in circuit will also get de-energized. It cannot seal in the previous current. It cannot maintain the previous current, whatever it was maintaining during the on state of the motor. Then this B3:1/0, examine if
Open.
this is examine if closed or examine if open.
Open.
It is not examine if closed. Examine if closed, is it not? This is examine for this is a for relay contact. How it is? If a cross comes, it is examine if normally closed for a relay contact. Okay, for examine if open, examine if closed, this is examine if open. Okay, this is examine if
Yes, sir.
closed. Correct, no? For if your relay contact and examine if examine if open, they are opposite to each other. If a cross line comes for the relay contact, just there are two bars, and if a line comes, okay, cross line comes for the relay contact. Just it was here, I think, last. Here you can see relay contact. Okay, this is normally open, this is normally closed. Okay, similarly for the examine if open, examine if closed, if a bar comes, it is examine if open. If there is no bar, if it is examine if closed, just it is opposite. Try to remember like this. Relay contact, how it is? If there are only two vertical lines, it is normally open for relay contact. If there is a two vertical line and a cross line, then it is normally closed. Okay. Similarly, for the examine if open, examine if closed instruction, if it is two lines, two brackets, opening and close bracket, and a cross line, then it is examine if open. Examine if open. If there are just two brackets, open bracket and closing bracket, then it is examine if closed. It's just opposite. Try to remember like this.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So this is examine if open. Correct? Examine if open. This is examine if closed. Previous to. This is examine if open. So it is going from open to close position initially to turn off the red LED. Now it will go from closed state to open state. Again the red LED will be turned on. It is normally open. Okay, it will go from closed to open state, and hence the red LED will be again turned on, indicating that the motor is about to stop. Then this is again the examine if closed instruction. Examine if closed instruction. Okay, so this has gone from close to open state initially, making the green LED to go from off to on state. Now it will go from closed state to on state, closed state to open state, and again the green LED will go from that is on state to off state now, indicating again that the motor is stopping. Then this also will go from, this was gone from initially, this had gone initially from, this is normally closed, because that has gone from closed to open and the motor was energized. Correct? Now it will go from open to closed. It is comes to the normal closed position. So the motor will get de-energized. Motor will get de-energized and the motor will stop finally. Okay. This is examine if, which instruction? This one. Examine if open or examine if closed? This one. Yes, students.
Examine closed.
Examine if closed. Correct. Examine if closed. Okay. So it is same as the relay logic. Okay, that is why if we know the relay logic, easily we can write the ladder rung diagram. Both are almost similar, relay logic and the ladder rung diagram. Okay. The hardwired relay schematic for the sequential process is converted into PLC ladder logic program that we explained just now. In converting the process to a program, the operation of each rung must be understood. If we want to convert relay ladder diagram to PLC ladder diagram, the function of each rung must be understood. The push buttons PB1, PB2, as well as limit switch are all programmed with the examine if closed instruction. The same thing what we explained here. Push buttons, this PB2. Okay, this is represented by the examine if closed instruction. Examine if closed instruction, it is closed initially. Then this is limit switch also is indicated by examine if closed instruction. That is the point that they have highlighted here. Also, internal relay B3:1/0 is used to replace the control relay. Internal relay is replaced by, internal relay has replaced the control relay, because control relay is meant to control the field devices, is it not? We are using the internal relay contacts. We have studied about internal contacts. Okay, while studying the beginning of this module, at the end of the module 1, the internal relay contacts. Internal relay contacts are nothing but the contacts which just provide the status of the device. They are not meant to control the field devices. They're just the indicating some status. So internal relay is replacing the control relay here. See, we are just monitoring here. Okay, we are not controlling any of the devices. Controlling is different. Just checking the output is different. Is it not? Series instructions program from optimum scan time. Here we are looking into the series connected contacts, series connected instructions here. So here, this instruction is most likely to be false. Instruction most likely to be false. This instruction is least likely to be false. That means it is all. This construction is usually true. Okay, is usually true, and this instruction, probability of this instruction is, it can be false. Okay, so what they are indicating here is the probability that the first instruction, this first examine if closed instruction, is likely to be false is more. Probability is more. As we move through the rung, the probability of the last examine if closed instruction likely to be false is very less. It is least. Correct? So they are just taken the probability. The important point here is that if one of these examine if closed contacts, if they are false, then what happens to the rung status? It will be false. Yes, if at least if one among these examine if close instructions, if they go false, then the entire rung will go false, because it's a series connection. It's a series connection. It's not like a parallel connection. Okay, if one of these contacts become false, the entire rung status will become false. It will go to false state, false condition. Okay, if all the contacts are true, only then the entire rung will become true. Here they are optimizing the scan time. Scan time is optimized because if one of the contacts become false, it is not going to check for the next contact. Correct? It will not going to it is not going to check the next contact. Suppose say this contact becomes false, then it will not check the other contacts because the entire rung is false only. So like this, it is optimizing, minimizing the scan time. Otherwise, what we require to do, we have to check all these contacts. This every contact has to be checked. That is not done here. If one of the contacts is false, then the all the other contacts is as good as, whether we check it or not doesn't matter, because the entire rung status will go false only. Correct? So that is here. This is called as optimizing the scan time. That is minimizing the time taken for scanning by checking the each of the contacts. If it is false, then stop there itself. Not necessary to check the next contact. Okay. The internal relay implemented in software requires one coil address the contacts of which can be examined for an on or off condition as many times we like. So here we are using the relay contacts, which we can check many times for the on condition or for the off condition. The next figure illustrates an example of the arrangement of series instructions of a rung programmed for optimum scan time. The series instructions are programmed for the most likely to be false, that is left instruction, and least likely to be false, very least likely to be false, that is far right instruction. Okay, the first initial starting instruction is most likely to be false, and the last instruction is least likely to be false. Here it's a probability, that's all. Once the process sees a false input instruction in series, the process stops checking the rung at the false condition and sets the output false. Similarly, let us look into the parallel instructions. So this is how the parallel instructions are programmed for the minimum scan time. So this is the path most likely to be true. Suppose if this path is true, all the contacts are true, it will be true, then the output will be true. Okay. Suppose if this path is false, then only we go for the checking of the next path. Otherwise, what we'll do, if this path is true, then we stop. The output anyhow is the same output device. We are not going to check for the second rung and the third rung. Correct? The first rung itself is true, then fine. We are getting the output. Okay. But we don't go for checking the second and the third rung. When we go for checking the second rung, when the first rung becomes false, when the first rung becomes false, then we check the second rung. In the second rung, if it is true, then we don't go for checking the third rung. We stop there itself. If the second rung becomes false, only then we go for checking the third rung. Okay, so this minimizes the scan time, and this is called as optimization or optimum scan time for scanning the parallel instruction ladder rung program. The next figure illustrates an example of an arrangement of parallel instructions of a rung programmed for optimum scan time. The parallel path that is most often true placed on top of the rung. The processor will not look at the others unless the top path is false. That is what it is. Unless the topmost path is false, it will not look for the next rung. Next is the jogging circuit with control relay. This is called as the jogging circuit with the control relay. It's a simple operation. Here we are getting 120 volt power supply from this arrangement. Okay, with this transformer we are able to get 120 volt supply here, because we are using a supply of 120 volt AC for controlling the operation of the PLCs, different components of the PLC. Okay, so once we get 120 volts AC here, right, then here there is a start switch. When this start switch is pressed, right, what will happen? the relay coil will get energized here. And this CR1 contact, the current is flowing like this. CR1 contact and CR2 contact also will get energized. CR1 contact and CR2 contact, because the current is flowing through this path and also through this path, CR1 and CR2. So control relay is energized and CR1 contact and CR2 contacts are also energized. Because of this, the motor will be energized. It is flowing like this. It will close the path. Okay, it will close the path through CR1 through motor. It is closing the path like this. So motor is also getting energized. The motor will start to run. The motor will be brought into running state. Okay, if there is any overload, then that overload current in the motor is controlled by this relay contact, overload relay contact. Fine. Now suppose say if the jog circuit is pressed, this jog switch is pressed. Okay, jog switch is pressed, then what is happening? And if you are releasing the start button, jogging circuit is pressed, jogging push button is pressed, and the start button is released, then the motor will be still in the energized position. What is the interesting point about this jogging circuit is, now previously what we studied in the previous one, when the start button was released, okay, when stop button was pressed, it was going into off state motor in the previous sequential process what we studied just now. Is it not? When the start button was released, reverse operation. When the start button was released, when the stop button was pressed, the motor was going into the off state. Here what will happen is, even if the start button is released and even if the stop button is pressed, because we are pressing this jogging switch, jog switch, the circuit is complete and it will provide the path for the motor here, and the motor will be still in the running state itself. It will not go to off state when the start button is released. Okay, that is what is called as the jogging circuit here. So the importance of this jogging circuit is, even if the start button is released and stop button is pressed, the motor will not go to off state because of the jog switch. When the jog switch will be pressed, again the motor is restored or it is maintained in the running state by the pressing of the jog switch. Okay, so this is how this jogging circuit with control relay works. It's simple circuit. Okay, just we need to understand the operation of this jog switch here. That's all. I hope you are following here, students. Any difficulty here, students? Students, any questions? Students, are you
Yes,
all
sir.
here? Yes,
So
please.
can you explain again the jog switch again?
Yes. See now, initially start button is pressed. Correct. Start button when it is pressed, jog switch is not pressed initially. Only the start button is pressed. Okay, so when start button is pressed, then what is happening is the control relay is energized, CR is energized. Then because the start current is also flowing through this path, through CR1, through this contact, M contact, and through this CR2 relay contact. Correct. So when it is flowing through these two contacts, CR2, CR1 and M contact, then it also flows through this path, M, motor circuit. So the motor will be turned on. Motor will be turned on and the motor starts to run. It will go to the running state. If there is any excess current in the motor, then that is controlled by this contact, overload relay contact. Correct. Then now let us say that start button is released. Start button is released. That means current should not flow here. Agree with me? The start button is released. Current should not flow in this path. It is released. It has come to open state now. Yes. So the current should not flow in this path. Current should not either flow in this path nor it will flow in this path. But what is happening is, because of the jog switch, and this circuit is complete here because of the jog switch. Input supply 120 volts is coming through the stop switch, through the jog switch, and it is making the motor to be in the running state when you are pressing the jog switch, even after the releasing of the start button. Okay.
Yes,
So
sir.
because of
Understood, sir.
this, understood, no? Okay, fine. So like this, the motor will be in the running state even after the start button has been released because of the pressing of the jog switch. Okay. Pressing the start push button completes the circuit for the CR coil, closing the CR1 and CR2 contacts. The CR1 contacts complete the circuit for the M coil, starting the motor. It is the CR1 and CR2 contacts will be closed. That is, they are energized. Because of this, the motor will be in energized state. The maintaining contacts closes. This maintains the circuit for the M coil. Pressing the jog button energizes the M coil. So when you press the jog button, it energizes the motor coil here. Okay, motor starter coil, and then because of this, the motor will be in the starting condition. Both CR contacts remain open and the CR coil is de-energized. CR contacts are remaining open because start button is released now. So both CR contacts are open now. CR contacts are open position because of the releasing of the start switch. That is, there is no current flowing from this position, start button, through CR1 and CR2 because of the releasing of the start button. The M coil will not remain energized when the jog push button is released. Okay, now let us say you have released both the jog button and start button. Then whether the motor coil will be energized? You have released the start button and also the jog button. Whether the motor coil will be energized?
No, sir, will not have been
No, it cannot energize because the current cannot flow. Either it cannot flow through this path also, nor it cannot flow through this path also. So the motor will be in the de-energized state. Okay. So next one is the PLC program equivalent of the relay jog circuit. So whatever jog circuit we study now, just the relay diagram of that. So here we have pressed the start switch. Okay, this is examine if closed instruction. The start button has been pressed. So when start button has been pressed here, the start button. So this examine if closed, it becomes true. Stop button is also true here. So the coil will be energized. Okay, relay coil. Okay, this is the seal-in contact. It will try to seal in the current, or it will try to maintain the current. Whatever is the current now that is flowing, even if the start button is released, it will try to maintain here. Okay, then next is the jog switch. When you press the jog switch here, this is examine if closed, the jog circuit will become true, the jog contact will become true, and because of this, the stop button is also activated and the motor will be energized. And because of this also, the motor will be in the energized state. Okay, so what is happening here, students? When you press the start button, this is true, this contact is true, stop button is also true, internal relay coil is energized and it is turning on the motor is turned on because of the start button. Okay, now when you release the start button and when you press the jog button here, jog switch, it is not activated, this motor is not activated because of this path, it is activated because of the jog path here, jog switch. So you are pressing the jog switch and this jog contact is activated. Because of the jog contact is activated, the stop button is also activated, the motor coil is energized and the motor will be turned on. Whatever just now we explained, this diagram, it is the same explanation, that's all, in the form of the ladder rung diagram, ladder rung instructions. Okay. And this is the B3:1/0 is the internal relay contact to seal in the current. Okay, if the whatever previous current is flowing in this path, that will be maintained even after the jog switch is released. Okay, for the off position of the motor, not for the on position, to maintaining the current for the off position next time. Okay, so is it understood here, students? So this also may be asked in examination. Jog circuit, explain the jog circuit or the jogging circuit with control relay, including the ladder rung diagram. So you are allowed to draw this circuit first, explain the operation of this circuit, and then draw the this ladder rung diagram and explain. Okay. So this is a relay circuit, sorry, not the ladder rung diagram, relay circuit. Sorry, it's a PLC program. PLC program equivalent of the relay jog circuit. Okay. It's a ladder rung diagram only, PLC ladder rung diagram. In today's class, students, we will have covered the various topics, starting from converting relay schematics into PLC ladder programs, how to convert relay schematic into ladder rung diagram, and what is combination control. I give the example of this, labeling 1, labeling 2, combination control. Sequential control is bottle filling with the liquid and capping, that is sequential process. Automatic control process, I give the example of this, furnace controller, automatic controller, this diagram. Sequential process, start button is pressed, table motor started, then the package moves towards the position of the limit switch and stops automatically. This is sequential process flow. We have studied this diagram here, sequential process flow diagram. and we have explained which are the different processes, how they will operate, and considering the relay schematic. Relay schematic in connection with the sequential process, we have explained the relay schematic and its equivalent PLC ladder rung diagram also. This IO connection diagram, and this is our PLC ladder rung diagram for the sequential process. Then next is the regarding the scan time optimization or minimizing the scan time using the series connection here. Similarly, using the dual connection also, it can be minimized with this particular type of the way in which the scanning is taking place. Then we have studied what is a jogging circuit with control relay. We have studied its operation and its equivalent PLC ladder rung diagram. Okay. So any difficulty here, students, in today's class? Any difficulty? So another just one subtopic is remaining, that is converting instructions to PLC ladder rung diagram. I'll complete it and immediately I'll quickly go to second half of the second module. Okay, I may require another 3 or 4 classes to complete that. I'll try to complete the second module. Okay, so you all want to ask anything, students? Any questions here? All of you understood today's class? Mudabbira?
Yes, sir.
Was it understood today's class? Yes, please.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Chetan Patil? Chetan?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Understood all the points? Chetan?
Yes.
Okay. Manohar? Different topics, different diagrams, were they clear? Manohar, Hampannar?
Clear, sir.
Okay. Prasad? Any questions, Prasad?
Clear, sir, clear.
Clear. Okay, fine. Praveen? Praveen?
Yes, sir.
Praveen? Was it understood, Praveen? Today's class topics?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Inoj? Any questions,
Yes, sir.
Inoj? Any doubts?
No, sir. Understood.
Okay. Malik Rian Sheikh, any problem in understanding? Malik Rian Sheikh? Malik Rian? Okay. Okay, students, then we'll continue in the next class. We'll see. Okay. And if there is any extra class, and I will discuss with you all and I'll let you know. Okay, if possible tomorrow. If at all we need to take an extra class, I will let you know about the timings. It may be the same timing, 8:30 to 9:30. Okay. Thank you, students.